What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today I want to talk about 5 headlines headed into training camp in 2022. This video will give an outlook for the upcoming Bears training camp, and my update videos that I will bring out from now and then will, as much as possible, answer these questions or headlines, or at least I will keep you updated on these topics. So with that being said, without further ado, let's get right into the first headline, which will, in my opinion, be the development of Justin Fields and how he adjusts to the new offense. Luke Getsy is now the offensive coordinator, and I talked about him a bit more lately, and I mean, it's just a new scheme now. Matt Nagy's gone. He did not adjust to Justin Fields. It's a well-known problem now. So now we have an offensive coordinator that tries to implement an offense that is solely based on Justin Fields' strengths and just builds around him, which is obviously the first excellent point with having Luke Getsy here. I mean, it's a scheme that is kind of from the Shanahan tree, so that's kind of exciting because we know and see how these offenses work in the modern NFL. It's an outside run scheme, and it's just exciting to see that we have an actual promising offense ahead of us. We don't know how it works and how our players perform it on the field, but it is promising. Also, Justin Fields' development, like I said, is really important, and he already worked on a lot of stuff. He worked on his release a lot this offseason. That's obviously promising, and in training camp where it gets a bit more serious, you obviously want to see that continuing and continue seeing his development with his release. He got a quicker release now. That's great. Bringing the ball out faster is obviously beneficial, and also he changed from right to left foot forward in gun or in shotgun formation. That's obviously great for him. That's just for his release. I mean, if he has his left foot up and he says the outside zone run scheme operates very fast, he now is able to get the ball out even faster. That's a small little detail to his game that's pretty important. Like I said, he used to having his right foot in front. Now he has his left foot in front. That just gives him the ability to turn his body faster and bring out the ball faster with his new release even more. So that's a great, promising combination already. Hearing that from year 1 to year 2, that's something I don't know. I can't really remember if Mitch had anything like that, but just his work ethic just seems different. Justin Fields is ready. He has a total mindset, and he just needs to show development during training camp. Obviously, everybody will have a close eye on him and look out how he's developing. So will I, and I will definitely keep you updated on how Justin Fields' development is going. But I'm excited for this training camp and can't wait to see some videos of it. Obviously, I won't be able to go there, but it will be interesting. Headline number 2 heading into the 2022 Bears training camp will be the nickel cornerback battle. I think there's actually a nickel cornerback battle going on, and that's just between 3 guys. Tavon Young, who we brought in through free agency and only got a 1-year deal, so very cheap. Duke Shelley and Thomas Graham Jr. Maybe Kendall Viller, you could include him here, but I think he's just a solid backup all around. Nothing too great. He really played terrible last season, but as a backup, he's kind of okay. So now you got these 3 guys battling for the nickel corner spot, and you have just Tavon Young, who is an experienced nickel who was once considered the best at the position in the entire NFL. He was the highest paid nickel cornerback at one spot. The thing with him was just always injuries held him back. And last season, he finally was able to put up an entire season without injuries. I think he appeared in every game last season for the Ravens and did really well. I mean, I like him a lot. He's a good tackler. He's great in coverage. He's a bit smaller, but that's okay with nickel cornerbacks. We know that. And I just can't wait and see how he performs on the Bears. And if he stays healthy, I think he definitely has the upper hand at the moment for the position. But you got 2 other guys as well. Thomas Graham showed a lot of promising stuff last season. He's just a very agile and fast player that's just good enough for the nickel spot, in my opinion. Last season, he was just fired in straight from the practice squad onto the field as an outside cornerback and performed very well, in my opinion. So he should definitely get another shot at playing. And I think it was way too late when we activated him. So now he gets a full preparation year with the entire roster. And I think he can really battle Tavon Young for that spot. And then last you have Duke Shelley. Duke Shelley, in my opinion, has, from these 3 guys, the biggest outside shot at being the nickel cornerback or the starter at nickel corner. But I mean, Duke Shelley is an underrated player, hard worker, and he's just an excellent tackler. I mean, that's what I absolutely love about him. Even if there's a bigger guy, way bigger guy in front of him, he usually makes a tackle. I mean, I think 9 out of the 10 times he's able to make a tackle, and a good tackle at the most as well. So that's great to have. And he is at least a suitable backup to have, definitely over Kindle Vildor. And I mean, if you have a nickel cornerback room and have 2 to 3 capable nickels with Tavon Young, let's say, as a starter, Thomas Graham as the backup, and Duke Shelley as a backup as well, I think you're well prepared for this season. Also, Thomas Graham could move back to outside corner as a backup as well, because the depth at outside corner is not great as well. So he will play multiple roles, but I just wanted to include him here at the nickel cornerback spot as well, because I think he can play that. Battle number 3 will be the offensive line battle, and I think that's one of the most interesting battles because it also includes a lot about Justin Fields, because we want the best offensive line on the field for this season to see the best possible version of Justin Fields. And for me, there are only 2 positions truly set for the upcoming season. Left guard Cody Whitehair, we retained him. We did not trade him or release him yet. I mean, it could still happen, but I don't see us doing that. Cody Whitehair is solid. He will do his job. I think he is locked up the left guard spot. And then you have free agent signing Lucas Patrick from the Packers, who will probably be the starter at center. But the rest is an open race, in my opinion. At left tackle, you have the competition between Larry Borom and Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones had very, very good pass sets on his tape. When I watched him, I like him a lot. So he definitely has a shot at starting at left tackle right away, even though he's a 5th-round rookie. Then you have Larry Borom, obviously, those 2 guys battling it out. He showed promising stuff last season. I liked what I saw out of him as well. So it's a battle at left tackle for me. Zachary Thomas, Ja'Tyre Carter, or a veteran that the Bears might bring in will battle for the right guard spot. Dakota Dozier is on IR right now. I don't know if he will come back, but I don't want to see him starting anyway. So you have Zachary Thomas from San Diego State, who we drafted, who is, in my opinion, the front runner for the right guard spot right now, because he's just so athletic, fast, and just an angry, mauling blocker. I love him a lot, and I think he fits, even though he played tackle in college, the right guard position in the NFL really well, and I think he can be a promising player for the Bears for the near future as well. Ja'Tyre Carter has a shot as well, but I see Zachary Thomas as the superior player right there. And then you have maybe a veteran signing, like I said, that still could happen, because there's still a lot of good offensive linemen left, some veterans that could use your locker room as well. And then at right tackle, you have Tevin Jenkins as the sole option right now, in my opinion. But if the left tackle battle ends and one of the 2 guys, Braxton or Borom, won't actually start at that position, there might occur another battle, and that's at the right tackle spot. I think Larry Borom did excellent last season at right tackle. Tevin Jenkins obviously was right tackle at college and did really well. So there might be a battle if Braxton Jones secures the left tackle spot. And with the new regime, it's not the same staff anymore. So they will be more ruthless to these drafted players from the years previous and don't have the same connection to them. So it will be interesting how the offensive line battle will go. In my opinion, there's some players that definitely have the upper hand right now. I mean, the starting 5 probably right now would be Borom, Zachary Thomas, Whitehair, Patrick, and Tevin. But I mean, Braxton Jones, like I said, has an outside shot, Ja'Tyre Carter, and it's just an open race right now. And it will be interesting heading into training camp to see who will actually shine and where they actually will line them up as well. Headline number 4 will be the wide receiver battle. The wide receiver number 1 spot will be secured by Darnell Mooney. I think there's no question about it. He's a 1,000-yard receiver with amazing route running and just great skills. Wide receiver 2, you could argue for Byron Pringle right away. He's talented, showed a lot of good stuff in Kansas City. And then you have the wide receiver number 3 spot, and that's where it really gets interesting. I mean, you have N'Keal Harry now, who we just traded for. I just made a video about him. Go check that out if you want to. You have Velus Jones Jr., you have Tajay Sharp, you have Dante Pettis, you have Equanimus St. Brown, and those are a lot of players that bring kinds of different skill sets and can be valuable, but who will be the true number 3 or will actually battle Byron Pringle for that wide receiver number 2 spot? That will be an interesting battle headed into training camp, in my opinion, and I think that's something we definitely have to look out for. N'Keal Harry is an insanely good blocker and a contested catch guy, so you can use him in these kinds of situations. Velus Jones Jr., in my opinion, our 3rd-round pick, will have a very specialized role. He did not run a lot of routes at Tennessee, so he will probably be more of a screen guy that can make some people miss after the catch and just do some magic there with his break tackle ability. He's very agile, elusive. We love that about Velus Jones Jr. I mean, he's a very special player, but he definitely has to get worked into an NFL offense, in my opinion. So that will be interesting during training camp. And then Tarshay Sharp and Dante Pettis are also very solid players that already show production in the NFL. Those could easily claim the wide receiver 3 spot as well. So that's an open battle, in my opinion. One of the most interesting headlines in this year's training camp. So I can't wait and see how the reports are going about these guys, who takes the receiver role with the first team or the first set this time and the next day, how everything is going. It will be pretty interesting. And lastly, I want to talk about headline number 5, the edges. And there the question is just, how can Travis Gibson adapt to his new role as a starter and potentially the number 1 edge? Khalil Mack has been traded to the Chargers. I'm still not really over it, but it happened. And there are also Robert Quinn trade rumors at the moment. So Travis Gibson is trending towards becoming the number 1 edge rusher for the Chicago Bears in 2022. So that obviously will be super interesting to see how he develops during training camp and if he really can accept the role of being that number 1 edge, that player that, I mean, a lot of stuff depends on that player. He needs to get pressures. He needs to get sacks. That helps the secondary. That makes everything easier. That helps the linebackers. I mean, the whole defense will depend on him in some kind of way. And then you also have Al-Qadim Muhammad, who's super promising younger player, I think only 27. Dominique Robinson, draft pick from Miami, Ohio. And also Charles Snowden is still on the roster, someone that we should not forget about. He's highly talented as well. Of course, at the moment, Robert Quinn is still on the team, and I think it will be easier if he's on the team actually for the season for Travis Gibson, because then he doesn't have to do it all by himself. But like I said, Robert Quinn wants to be traded, or it appeared like he wants to be traded. He probably wants to go to a contender and win that Super Bowl ring. And I mean, if the Bears get value for him, maybe a second or third round pick, I would definitely pull the trigger. I mean, I think a second round pick should be the least value that we should get for him, because he just had freaking 18 sacks or 18 and a half. And I mean, it's just a highly productive player that just leaves the Bears right there. So it will be interesting how Travis Gibson can adapt to that role. And it also will be interesting who the actual starters then will be if Robert Quinn is gone. And it also gives an outlook for the future of the edge position, who can show promise, who misses his shot. Now that Mack is gone, a new opportunity and a more or bigger spotlight is on these players, so they can really show the coaches what they can do. So the edge battle or showing out of these players will be really interesting as well. So with that being said, guys, that wraps up today's episode. Quick little 5 headlines that you should definitely look out for the 2022 Chicago Bears training camp. I can't wait for training camp to come by. I missed football so much, especially Bears football, obviously. And yeah, I will definitely keep you guys updated on all the training camp stuff that is happening. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Like and subscribe if you liked it. Check out Instagram if you want to as well. And as always, guys, bear down.